Hello beautiful people, welcome back to another tutorial. If you are new here, please subscribe, like, share, and if you are an old subby, thank you guys for always watching my videos. Thank you all for always coming back. I love you guys so much. So let's move to today's work. On today's tutorial, I'm going to show you all how to make a satin cap fascinator with ruffles by the side. And for this today, you need your collar stay. You can either use collar stay or hard gum stay, scissors, thread and needle, satin fabric, your shining or doll face. You can even use chiffon or organza. You need your machine, that's your sewing machine, and your measuring tape. So what I am holding right now is my collar stay. That's my collar stay, and I'm going to fold it like this and also create another fold like this. While folding, you have to make sure that everything is flat. It has to be as flat as possible. So guys, you discover that on your measuring tape you have the inches and centimeter. You have inches and you also have centimeter. So I'm going to use here like this today to measure. So you can either use any of the parts to measure. So I'm going to measure 4 inches. I'm going to pick up my chalk and mark 4 inches from the middle of the fold, and I'm going to create a circle with my chalk. I want to get 4 inches. This is going to help me achieve my circle. So after marking out 4 inches, you pick up your scissors and cut that part out. Make sure that you are not cutting on the chalk, but outside the chalk, outside the mark that you've created. So this is going to give me a circle. I want the top of my cap to be hard. This circle now will serve as the top of my cap. I want the top of my cap to be hard, so I'm going to cut out 2 parts. You'll discover that on your collar stay you have the shining part and the dull part. So I'm going to place the 2 shining parts of my collar stay together and then iron them to become one. So I'm going to pick up one of the circles that I have created. I'm going to mark a point which is going to be the beginning of the circle, and then I'll measure the circumference of the circle. Because this is going to enable me know the measurement I'm going to use for my band. So we have 25 right there. So I'm going to pick up my collar stay again. We have 25. I'm going to pick up my collar stay and measure. I'm not going to measure 25 inches but 26 inches. The length of this collar stay is going to be 4 inches, while the width of the collar stay is going to be 26. I'm measuring 26 inches because I want to add 1 inch for my sewing allowance, and I'm just going to cut that out right there. So this is going to serve as my band. This right here is my satin fabric. You discover that there is a shining part and also a dull part. So like I said before, I want my cap to be hard, so I'm going to cut out 2 parts of my satin fabric. I'm just going to fold that right there into 2. After folding, you can use your pins to secure your collar stay to your satin fabric so that while cutting it doesn't move. So after securing, pick up your scissors and cut out a circle. So once you're done cutting, this is what the top of your cap should look like. I'm still going to pick up my satin fabric and then fold it into two like this. Then place my collar stay for the band which we had cut on the satin fabric. If you guys remember vividly, the circle we measured on the circle we measured 25 inches, but we cut out 26 inches on the band because we needed 1 inch for sewing allowance. So I'm going to pin my collar stay to my satin fabric so that even while I cut, it doesn't move. I'm still going to measure 1 inch of satin fabric added to the collar stay. I'm not going to cut out everything the way it is exactly on the collar stay. I need 1 inch for sewing allowance, so I'm just going to cut everything right there. So we have the top of our cap. I'm going to place my collar stay to the door part of the cap. I told you guys that I needed mine to be as hard as possible. I'm going to pin everything together and iron everything out. I'm using a hemming gum to join the two tops of our caps together so that it becomes one. After placing them together, I'll use my iron and press everything so that it becomes one. So this right here is our band, and we added 1 inch to the band. It was supposed to be 25, but we made it 26. So I'm going to sew down like that. So here we have it, our finished sewing. I'm going to place the top of our cap to the band, but before sewing everything together, I'm going to pin the band and the top of our cap. I'm going to pin it so that while I sew, it doesn't move at all. So while you sew, you remove the pin. While you sew, you remove the pin. That is what it should be. So once you're done, turn the cap over to the good side so that it looks very neat. This is what your cap should look like. I'm going to start measurement right now for my ruffles, and I'm going to cut my satin fabric into 3 parts, and they are all going to have different measurements. The first one is going to be 23 as width and 7 as length, and the second one is going to be 17 as width and then 4 as length. I'm going to pick up the first one that I made and then turn over. I'm going to bend the bad side of it like this and then sew it. After sewing, you have to bring out the good side of the fabric. What I did was I just sewed the edges of the fabric. After bringing out the good side, you also have to make sure that you iron it so that everything looks very, very neat. So on the part which you've sewn, it should be at the middle. I don't know if you guys can see the part that I sewed, the edge that I sewed. It should be at the middle. Then run a needle and thread at the middle of the fabric so that you can create your ruffles. You have to run a needle and thread the way you can see me do in this video at the middle of the fabric. So I'm done doing that. This is what I got. This is what I got, and I'm going to fold the ruffle and then stitch it at the middle. So I told you guys before that I was going to cut out 3 parts of my satin fabric and that the measurements were going to be different. So these are the 2 ruffles that I've created right now. I'm just going to cut out the 3rd part of the satin fabric so that I can create a bigger ruffle, and I'm going to be measuring 34. I'll measure 34 by 18 right there, 34 by 18, and I'm going to go over the same process like I did in the first and the second. You have to make sure that you turn your material over to the bad side and then stitch the edges, then turn it over again to the good side, then create your ruffles. So this is the bigger ruffle that we have. I'm going to stitch the ruffle right now to the cap itself. And then after stitching it to the cap, you have to make sure that everything is secured. After stitching it to the cap, you can then pick up the 2 smaller ruffles that you've created. Pick up the 2 smaller ruffles that you've created, stitch them together, and then also stitch it at the middle of the bigger ruffle which is already on the cap. Right there, you just have to make sure that you stitch everything right there. I love you guys so much. I do hope that this tutorial has been helpful. If it has, please don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and also comment in the comment section. Please don't forget to turn on your notification button so that each time I post you get a notification and you'll be the first to know. I love you guys so much. See you all in my next video.